story of the morning, okay? And that is this man's future in Dallas. Cowboys quarterback, we all know the story. Entering the final year of his deal, his cap hit is over $55 million. The negotiations, I think we've forgotten sometimes that they are ongoing. But he reminded us of that yesterday, and he sounded pretty optimistic.
I'm happy where I am right now, and that's really all my focus is. And yeah, I mean, as I said, I enjoy being a Cowboy 1,000%. Enjoy living in Dallas, enjoy everything about it. But this is a business, so conversations are going well. Hoping it gets done now, hoping it gets done in a couple of weeks during the season or whenever it happens. I just know conversations are on the right way.
All right, Dan, so, you know, I'm not an insider. You are. But I just listen to the things that people say. And maybe I'm very gullible, and maybe he's a very good actor. But that sounded to me like a man who thinks there is a real chance, something I have basically discounted as a possibility, a real chance they get a deal done before this season starts.
I think there's a real chance, but there's also, I think, just as real a chance that they don't, that he gets to free agency next spring. And I think people have to understand that. Like, he doesn't have to do a deal unless and until he gets every single thing he wants. They're not allowed to franchise him. Like, he has the leverage. We've been over this and over this. If he wants to stay and, you know, he's willing to meet them, I don't know, say halfway, but somewhere along the way, then absolutely a deal could get done this offseason or, as he mentions, during the season. Neither side rules that out. But, yeah, I think you're listening to a guy who's saying the right things, who I think if there is a split, I think the Cowboys and Dak Prescott will each want to make sure that the fans don't think it was them that was at fault, right? So I think, you know, I want to be here. He's saying the right things. But, yeah, it's possible. They have talked since training camp started. There are ongoing discussions, just as there are with CeeDee Lamb. So, yeah, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing at all.
Let me get Tannenbaum in on this, because, again, for those who don't know, Mike T was a general manager in 2 different places. You've lived these situations from the inside, maybe not exactly this one, because there's never been one exactly like this one, a quarterback of this level who is this tantalizingly close to unrestricted free agency. When you hear Dak say things like that, does it make your mind spin a little bit?
It sure does. And if I was his teammate, I would be mad at him because out of $55 million cap number, Greeny, that's 22% of the cap. And we saw really good players, Tyron Smith, Tony Pollard leave. We had a really good team a year ago. So as the quarterback and the leader that's on the field, off the field from a salary cap standpoint, there should be a massive sense of urgency on both sides. And when we look at it from the Dallas standpoint, look, we can say a lot of things about Jerry Jones, but he's smart and strategic. I was surprised, even if it was someone like Spencer Rattler, second or third round, that they didn't draft a quarterback, because they really don't have leverage when we're talking about unfettered free agency for a quarterback that was second in the league in MVP voting, can't be franchised, can't be traded. And right now, the Cowboys have 0 options.
And has been discussed ad nauseum. They also don't have CeeDee Lamb under contract. But look who we have, ladies and gentlemen. The one, the only Booger McFarland has gotten up early with us this morning from his palatial estate down there in Tampa, Florida. So, Booger, you're hearing the conversation here. It's all about the Cowboys, as it so frequently is. The Dak situation, not resolved and maybe not getting any closer to it. We'll see. The CeeDee Lamb situation, not resolved, and there doesn't seem to be an obvious explanation for that. How do you see it right now, big fella?
Well, good morning, guys. Greeny, Bart, Dan. I think that the whole Dak Prescott situation is going to linger into next season or into the offseason. I don't see a situation where the Cowboys are going to be willing to go to the $55 plus $60 million a year range, nor if you're Dak Prescott, really do you want to, because I think it behooves Dak to become an unrestricted free agent where he can really see what his true value is. As far as the CeeDee Lamb of it all, I think the blueprint is kind of laid. I'm really not sure why CeeDee Lamb hasn't got paid. Like, the money is there. All the wide receiver contracts have gotten done. Like, we all could sit down in the conference room and do this contract in like 5 minutes. So I foresee him getting a new contract before he steps on the football field. Or I think CeeDee Lamb has the resolve where he just won't show up. So Dak will probably have to wait till the offseason and have a great big month of shows. Where's Dak going to go? Are the Cowboys going to pay him $60 million? But I think the CeeDee Lamb of it all is going to get resolved. I'll tell you the most surprising thing, though, guys, is the Micah Parsons. Like, we've talked a lot about CeeDee Lamb, a lot about the Cowboys, but the Micah Parsons of it all has kind of slid to the side. And I don't think there's any shape, way, or form we can see Micah Parsons not being a Dallas Cowboy. So why you wouldn't take care of CeeDee and take care of Micah, I really don't know what Steven and Jerry are doing right now.
See, that's such an interesting part of this to me. I'm glad he took us there. Because the way sometimes I feel like we talk about things like all football fans know them. When you're drafted in the first round, you get a 4-year deal, and then the team has a 5th-year option. So Micah Parsons falls in that category. Jamar Chase falls in that category. They were drafted in the same year. That's my point. But CeeDee Lamb is a year ahead of them. Right. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, those guys are going into the 5th-year option. That's when the team knows, look, we got to get this deal done now or they're going to be able to walk. Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons, 2 of the very best players in the league who are a year before that. It seems to me that if I am as certain about those players being a part of my future as I would have to believe they are in Cincinnati and Dallas, I would want to lock them up now because, as we have seen, the price just keeps going up. If they had locked up CeeDee Lamb at last year's wide receiver numbers, Dan, they would have saved themselves a fortune.
There's definitely an advantage to be had in knowing when to go to your players early for an extension. There's no question about that. We see that's one of the things that Howie Roseman in Philadelphia gets so much credit for doing over and over and over again. Until this offseason, we really hadn't seen a lot of guys, non-quarterbacks, after year 3 get extensions. And to piggyback on what you're saying, so people know, you're not allowed under the CBA to negotiate an extension with a player until he's played 3 years in the league, a drafted player. So I think they're at a point, Dallas is with Micah Parsons, where they feel like they can put that on the back burner because they have time, because they have the option, the franchise tag available to them, and work on these other big deals. But you're absolutely right. If they're 100% certain he's going to be there, there's some benefit to be had to going to him now because the price is not going to go down.
But there are players that have, organizations got bitten by the injury bug. Guys never, we think about Todd Gurley, we think about guys that get paid early. I know that's a running back, a different position. When you think about Jerry Jones and Mike Brown, they're from the old school. They haven't hit the refresh button about how organizations operate now in this new NFL. But Jerry has always gotten everybody that he's wanted signed. So that's why I'm not worried about Dak Prescott, because at the end of the day, we can be concerned with everything that's going on. He'll get them done. He's just trying to find a way to get leverage. Jerry would like to have leverage, which he has none. He gave it away in the last negotiation.
Go ahead, Booger.
But Bart, here's the thing about it. If Dak Prescott reaches the end of this season, he will be an unrestricted free agent. They can't franchise him, okay, because that's in the contract. Like, they can't franchise him. So Jerry has zero control. So to your point that Jerry always gets who he wants, that's when Jerry has control. Jerry will legitimately have zero control if the season ends and Dak Prescott doesn't have a new contract, because Dak Prescott will be in control. So that's where I think if you're Jerry, you're playing this all wrong. And you could say, okay, well, Jerry can offer him $65 a year. But yes, at what cost? Is Jerry willing to go to an absurd number to keep Dak Prescott when you could have done the deal right now? I think, Dan, everyone agrees, even Mike T. By the way, good morning, Mike T. He could have done this deal for $58, $60 million a year right now, and this would be done. So I'm really not sure what Jerry's doing right now, because he's legitimately losing more control by the day.
But it's not like Dak is not without risk, right? Now, we know that we've seen Dak get injured and still got his money. But what happens if they go and they don't perform well and they're out in the first round, or they struggle to make the playoffs, or if they don't make the playoffs? I think when Jerry said he's all in, I think he's saying he's all in with this regime. And if it doesn't go well, Mike McCarthy may be going. You have to reassess. Are you going to build with Dak Prescott, or are you going to start over and tear it down? Because this is an organization that found Dak Prescott in the 4th round, that found Tony Romo. So they've had success with non-first-round draft picks. You got Shedeur Sanders coming out. Who knows? Maybe Primetime will be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, don't say that. I'm the one who brought that up yesterday. Everyone yelled at me. Mike T, put a finishing touch on this, because it's really your area.
Yeah, what would scare me to death if I'm Jerry Jones or Mike Brown is what Jalen Ramsey did in Jacksonville. That hold-in, had the back issue, quote-unquote, got traded to the Rams, got paid. Micah Parsons and Jamar Chase are good enough players. They could pull that off as well. Jamar Chase hasn't practiced. Micah Parsons has. That is the great equalizer. Not a lot of players can pull it off, but Micah Parsons and Jamar Chase could.
All right, we'll see. It is a changing and evolving circumstance with the way these contracts work, and the Cowboys so far seem to be a little.
Hello, xin chào các bạn đã đến với kênh YouTube của mình. Video ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục tạo ra những sản phẩm, những video thật là đẹp, tuyệt vời và ý nghĩa để gửi tặng đến các bạn. Nhưng mình mong rằng các bạn khi xem video của mình thì hãy ủng hộ mình bằng những lượt like và lượt đăng ký kênh để mình tiếp tục với động lực ra video. Mình cảm ơn các bạn rất là nhiều. Mình không biết nói gì hơn. Mình cảm ơn các bạn rất là nhiều.